Okay, so we're going to start holding the Siman Tzadi, that's 90 thief test, that's the 9th paragraph, let's say.
Let me make this louder.
What's the topic, Rabbi?
The topic we're speaking about is davening with a minyan. It's a very intriguing question, a very intriguing halacha.
What is that?
Davening with a minyan. What's the halacha of davening with a minyan? So it says like this. The Shulchan Aruch says.
Talk a little louder, okay?
Get closer to you. You can make your hearing get even louder.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's the loudest I can get it. I don't know.
Okay.
Talk louder.
Okay. So it says Yishtadel Adam l'spal b'beis haknesses u'matzibur. A person should daven in shul together with the tzibur, meaning you're supposed to daven in a shul. That's number one. Shul is in itself a holy place where your prayers are more accepted.
But if you do it in the morning yourself, because you can't get to a shul, you still get credit, don't you?
Yeah, you get credit, but you get like half a credit.
Huh?
Get half a credit.
Oh, okay.
Are we negotiating that?
So and the second thing is imhat tzibur. You have to daven in a shul together with the tzibur, together with everyone else. So the wording is yishtadel. You should try. Okay, interesting concept. Yishtadel. It seems like it's not obligatory. You're not obligated to daven with a minyan. You're
Good.
not obligated to daven in a shul. It's something you try.
Oh, yeah. At my age, I can't get up early enough.
I thought when you're your age, you don't sleep much.
No, well, you get up every 2 hours.
Oh, okay. So v'imhu onus, and if you're onus, if you can't make it, if you're onus, if you're really can't make it, she'eni yachol lavel beis haknesses, that you can't come to shul. So what should you do? You daven when the shul davens. The shul davens at 7 o'clock. You daven at 7 o'clock. Shul davens at 9 o'clock. You daven at 9 o'clock.
That's what I daven, about 9 o'clock. 9:30.
But what time does the shul daven? Got to find out. You daven when the shul davens.
Shul got different times.
Most of them daven at 7 o'clock. 7:15.
So daven 7:15.
Sounds very early.
What time is Union Hill daven?
7.
What time?
6:50.
Oh my God!
Okay, so Murray, you got to get a list of all the shuls, and then when they daven, and then you could pick your
I gotta
shul.
find one that davens at 9 o'clock.
That's right.
Probably Chabad.
Make sure it's a religious shul, you know.
Huh?
Make sure it's a religious one.
Yeah.
Okay. But the same applies. This halacha of davening when the shul davens. Bnei Adam Haidarim b'Yeshuvim, people that live in the sticks, in the Yeshuva means a yeshuv where people live, but it's not built up. Ve'en la minyan, there is no minyan. Mikomakom leispal shachris ve'arvis, they shouldn't daven shachris and arvis and ma'ariv. Mikomakom leispal, they should daven shachris ve'arvis. It means shachris and ma'ariv and mincha also, just everything together means all the davenings. But it's much shatzibur mispalim. You should daven when the tzibur davens. Also, he says v'chenim nenas leispal b'shal shespal atzibur. Let's say you can make it to shul on time. So then, who mispal b'yochad, and you're davening on your own, then after can you spal beis haknesses, it's should daven at least in the shul. Meaning, either if you can't do both, so best thing is to daven in shul together with everyone in the shul. But if you can't make it to shul, you should daven when they daven. And if you miss that, you at least go to shul and daven in the shul. That's also something. So we have an interesting concept here of that you're obligated, that you should try to daven in shul, but if you can't do it, like so the question really is, are you really obligated? Seemingly it's starting off to say you're not really obligated. It's something that just as an extra credit. You get 100 on the test, you have some extra credits, right? Yishtadel, something like a good thing, like a most of the Hasidus, like a pious thing, pious people do. It's not something you really got to do. But then he says, "V'imhu honest." But if you can't make it, then you should daven when the shul davens. Seemingly, you really have to daven the shul. So, do you have to? Don't you have to? What's really going on here? The Mishnah Berurah actually says, "What does it mean? You can't make it the shul?" It means if you don't have the kayach, you don't have the power.
I don't.
So I guess you apply for this honest person, but then you got to daven when they daven. You can't just daven whenever you want. Whenever you wake up.
That's
So,
what I do.
okay, good. You're doing the halacha. Now, if he says over here, let's say you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose money from davening in shul. You have to lose money. So they're saying. So then you don't have to daven. If you're gonna lose money, what happens if you're not gonna make money? If you're not gonna lose money, but you can make a profit. So I'll give you a simple example. If you're a worker and you get paid by the hour, you get paid $30, $40, $50 an hour, you go to shul, you're not losing money, but you would have made money. You would have made $25, you would have made $50. Are you what then? So they say no, that you should daven in shul. You should not make a profit and still daven in shul.
But what if you're going to lose money?
Lose money, you don't have to daven in shul.
Huh?
Then you don't have to daven in shul.
Oh,
But I guess if it's $5, you should go daven in shul. I think it's worth it. I don't know when the cutoff point is. Listen, driving to shul costs you money. You got to pay for gas. Hey, I'm losing money. I'm going. Obviously that's not. There's certain elements that even though you're paying for it, it's not. I would assume it's not called losing money.
you mean money comes into this?
You can make money in shul.
No, I mean money.
Yeah, money comes into it. Yeah, losing money, you don't have to daven with a minyan. But if not to make money.
What if a guy has a lot of money and it doesn't matter if he loses some money? Think about that one.
Stop me.
Huh?
Stop me.
Okay.
Very good.
I think he's your new Cherusa.
He's very good. Mari's very good.
He'll take over. Mari,
Think about that one.
It's a good question. But I wanted to maybe just address this issue of what does this mean that you should try to daven with a minyan, but then it seems like you have to daven with a minyan. Like, is an obligation, not an obligation?
Later I can
No, it's
look
great.
at something.
We want to know davening with a minyan, Jake. It seems to start saying that it's a good thing to daven with a minyan, but then it says, well, you have to if you're going to make a profit, if you don't daven with a minyan, you still got to daven with a minyan. So it seems like it is an obligation. So it's an obligation. It's not an obligation. So we're a little mixed up here. We're not sure exactly. But I learned with Jake this week, or was actually yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. Yes. Interesting halacha. People know one of the ways that the Jewish groceries make money is from the fact that they say you gotta buy Jewish, right?
They got a what?
You gotta buy from
The
a
Jew has
from
to
a
buy
Jewish
from
brother.
a Jew.
You gotta buy from a Jew. Right?
But what if he's charging you more?
Yeah,
Because he knows it.
So that's not so. You're obligated to actually buy from your fellow Jew. It's an obligation. Now.
What if it costs you more money to buy
very
from a
good.
Jew?
You're even again with the money. Why are you always asking about the money?
Huh?
What are you always busy
A
with the
good
money?
Jew, he's asking about the money.
Okay, so what happens if it costs you more? So the Mishnah says an interesting thing. He says that you're not obligated, but it's a mitzvah. Now, the term of a mitzvah is a little confusing. What does it mean? A mitzvah generally means you're obligated. Here we have something you're not obligated, but it's a mitzvah. Mitzvah means obligation, but you're not obligated. It says it's not a chiyuv, but it's a mitzvah. So a new concept called a mitzvah, right? You get a mitzvah. Fine. But then if you look further in the Chavetz Chaim over here, it's an Avos Chesed, in Perek Chamish, the fifth chapter. The Chavetz Chaim wrote different halach, different svarim, he wrote different books. One about lending money, a whole sefer about lending money. So there he writes in the fifth parak. How do you say parak in English?
Sentence?
No.
Paragraph?
Not paragraph. Chapter.
Parak is not a chapter, is it?
Parak is a chapter, yeah. Parak is a chapter.
Pasuk, yeah. Pasuk sentence, yeah. Parak.
So the fifth parak, I actually have an uncle, when it comes to the Chumash, he wrote a sefer, he doesn't call it parak, because the prakim that we know in the Chumash wasn't made by Yidden, it was made by Goyim. It was made by Galachim, by priests. So he doesn't call it a parak, he calls it capital, because it's showing to show that it's not really a Jewish thing. It's just capital this, capital that, because it's not really a Jewish thing. So he calls it kapitel. But here we're allowed to call it parak, even according to my uncle. Okay, but so here in the 5th chapter, parak, then he goes on further. He says that he seems to say that the wording of the Chavetz Chaim is even when you're going to lose, when it's going to cost you more, it seems like you do have to buy. You do have to buy from your fellow Jew. So before he says you're not obligated, and then he says you are obligated. So me and Jake and I, we decided an answer like this: that certain things you're not technically obligated. I mean, there are things you are obligated. You have to put on tefillin every day. If you wear a four-corner garment, you have to put on tzitzis, right? You don't have to wear tzitzis. Good thing too. It says
you don't have to wear tzitzis at night.
We do.
No?
You do because it's machlekes.
Okay.
It's machlekes. Some say you're mechuyev to wear at night if it's a beged, if it's a garment that's worn by day. But you can't make a bracha because it's machlekes. But you want to do it. You want to get all.
But you made the bracha anyway in the morning, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay.
But it would be on Yom Kippur when you put on talis at night.
Right.
Don't make a bracha if it's ben hashmoshes. That's where it comes to play.
Okay.
That's one of the only times it comes to play. But so there are things you're obligated to. But then buying from a Jew when it costs more, you only have to buy if it costs a little more. If a lot more, we said you don't have to.
What's that?
You have to buy by a Jewish grocer if it costs a little more. If it costs a lot more, you're not obligated. That's what we saw. That's what the Chavetz Chaim said. Only a little bit more. Like exactly how you define little and lot, I don't know.
Right.
We're not sure.
That's another question.
It's another question. We had a lot of questions, but seemingly like this, things that are a mitzvah, which you're not obligated technically, but the law seems to be you also got to do mitzvahs. Meaning, you know what? When you go into one of these arcade rooms and you put a quarter in or 2 quarters, whatever it costs, and you're playing the game, what's the goal? To get as many points as you could. So our goal in life is to get as many points as we could. We got to make points. We got to put the points and get the mitzvahs. That's an obligation. So technically, you're not really obligated. If you don't do it, we can't get you to do it. But you got to do it. We're here for that. We're here to do mitzvahs. That's what we're here for. What Hashem make us for? To do mitzvahs. So for that reason, you have to do it.
So we're going all the way back now to learning with a Minyan.
So we want to say the same thing. It says you should try to daven in a shul, meaning it's a mitzvah. So okay, so we want to say the same thing. Once it's a mitzvah, so then you're obligated. It's an obligation. It's not definitive that if you don't do it, you get an aveira, so to speak. You didn't.
Right. If you daven by yourself, you're not getting an aveira. You didn't
transgress anything, but technically you have to do it.
Giving up the mitzvah.
You have to do it because it's a mitzvah. You have to do it, and therefore you even have to do it. Even if you're giving up money for it, even if you're not getting money. Now, so then already, because maybe it's not technically an obligation. So maybe that's why if you're going to lose money, you don't have to. Meaning, if it would be a real obligation, you may have to lose money also for it. The Chavetz Chaim here says you don't have to lose money. So maybe the point is because it's not really an obligation. It's not technically an obligation. So maybe that's why. If it's going to cost you to go to a Minyan, if it's going to cost you $50 to go to a Minyan, you're not obligated. I know Jake would pay $50 to go to a Minyan. I know.
I'll get it back twice anyway.
I just saw it today. I saw a story of Rabbi Shmuel Birnbaum. He was the late Rosh Yeshiva in the Mir Yeshiva in Flatbush. He died about 10 years ago, and he was like we're talking about in Poland. And he was there in the 30s. So at that point, he was considered the younger ones, meaning the older Bachrim they were in their 20s or even older, and he was from the young ones. So his whole life he was from the younger Bachrim. He was 85 years old. He was still from the younger Bachrim. So the story goes like this. I just saw about a Minyan. The story goes that he was out of town. I think it was in Chicago. He was in Chicago, and he comes to the shul over there. I think it was Chicago. I'm not 100% sure. And he comes to the shul, and in the morning it was like 7:15. There's no Minyan.
No Minyan?
Yes. What's he going to do? He had to fly back to New York. I believe 12:15. He was giving shir. He was giving a Gemara. He can't miss. I think he was out there for a chasna. He was out there for a chasna. Yeah, he was there for a chasna. So he couldn't miss. But he got to daven with a Minyan. Even though you shtadl, but you got to do it.
He fulfilled the mitzvah just by attempting to do it.
Right? Okay.
Right? If he tried,
He
if I
went to-
come and there's 9 guys,
He went to another shul, and it was like an 8 o'clock minyan, finished at 8:45, and he's davening away, as if he's in yeshiva. They make a quick dash to the airport, and it was like 35 minutes away, whatever it was. He gets there already. The plane should have left already. So they come to the terminal, come to the airport, and they start running. And he was an older person in the 70s, running, and they're running, and they don't know where they don't know where to go even. They're not asking anyone. They just run and run and run, and finally they come to the gate and they show someone their ticket. He said, "Go jump in." It just jumped in. The one that was running with him didn't even have a boarding pass. And as soon as before they got to the seats, the doors already were closing. The plane left like 13 minutes late. And they come to New York, and they come to Kennedy, or maybe it was LaGuardia, and take a taxi to the yeshiva. 12:10 he's back in yeshiva.
What?
12:10 he's back in yeshiva. 12:15 is the shit. So he made it. He had to be talking. He said, we have to daven with a minyan, and we got to give our share. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. He did it. He made it. So it's something you got to do, but not an obligation. But you got to do it. I think the message is we got to do as many mitzvahs as we could.
The what?
The message is we got to do as many mitzvahs as we could.
Okay.
And that's an obligation.
All right.
Okay?
So davening without a minyan is an obligation, not a mitzvah.
no.
Or is that the opposite?
Davening is an obligation. Davening is a clear obligation. Davening with a minyan is just a mitzvah.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're
So
saying
you get more credit.
you get more
But you're obligated to daven, even
You're
if you don't
obligated.
have a minyan.
obligated to daven even if you don't have a minyan.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But you also daven when they're davening.
What?
When Union Hill davens 7 o'clock, you gotta daven 7 o'clock.
I can't get up 7.
You can't get up 7 o'clock?
No,
Go
are
to
you
sleep
kidding?
earlier. Go to sleep earlier.
We'll find
Huh?
you a later minion.
I get up about 8:30,
8:30.
9 o'clock.
Gotta say
Today,
Shema. Besides davening, we gotta say Shema. Times are like 9 o'clock. or
telling
so.
you the truth, I get up about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I go to sleep 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
That's a good sleep. I wish I could
Wow.
sleep like that.
But I get up every 2 hours.
Me too.
What time you said you get up at 8:30?
8:30, 9 o'clock.
That means you get up at 6:30.
Huh?
You also get up at 6:30, so you make it your
Right.
last one.
4:30, 6:30,
So it's
8:30.
6:30. Daven at 6:30.
Daven at
I
6:30.
can't.
Take a nap after.
Okay. So now there's a very interesting halacha here that it's brought down. This is already not Mishnah Berurah. This is already more stuff over here. But the Ber Heitev brings down that even if it's people that are not so religious, that they maybe do some avera sometimes, they maybe eat some chazer. I don't know what they do, but you still should daven. You still should daven with them.
Meaning, are they considered for part of a minion? You're saying?
So that's the question. The question is it considered part of a minyan? That's one issue. The question is, what's better? Let's say you have a minyan, a small minyan, 10 people, just people that kosher everything, and then you have the shul, there's all kinds of people there. So what's better? Better to have just total 100% kosher, or better to have with more people, and and you have everyone over there. What's better?
Once you're at 10, you're good. But
What's better? We want to do the best, right? We want to get more, right? We want to get more credit. So how do you get more credit?
Wasn't better. Go to the
What? Go to the 10.
You go to the next minyan, like you go for
we're not
mincha.
looking at their averas.
That's what I
They
do.
come to the minion.
Right. So it says like this. It says even if it's people that are not so not so hot, you should still daven there. So Mashar says like this.
Maybe you'll inspire them.
Oh, that could be. The Mashar says like this. In the Ketairis, when the incense that they had in the Beis Hamikdash,
What?
in the incense that they had in the Beis Hamikdash,
Yeah.
there was one bad smelling. The chalbana. There was a chalbana that didn't smell good. But everything else smelled good. So the question is, why was there a chalbana there? Why was there a not good smelling, a smelling incense? The lesson is that when we pray, we should include even those that don't smell so good.
We should what?
We should include those that are not so hot.
Oh,
We
okay.
include the chalbana. So Mashal says, if you look at the Ketairis, there were 10 types of Ketairis, 10 types of incense besides the chalbana. So the moral of the story is that you should have 10 good ones. For every 10 good ones, you can have one not so good.
Let me ask you a question.
So you go to shul, you say, let me see, I'll make a quick check here. Okay, we have 50 regular guys and 2. Okay, that's good. But if it's it's going a little too much, you go, okay,
Right, what if it's 25?
it's 25. Yeah, I would say not to be so macro in this, but just we want to know, in essence, how much, what's really better. So the Mashal says you should have for every 10. He says over here.
So 10% could be not so kosher.
No, not 10%. No, 10 to 1.
1 out of every 10?
No, 10 to 1.
Okay, so it's less.
It's less.
Yeah.
9%.
I got a stupid question.
That's Ches Lavram says that what's 1, it's 1 to 10.
Right, so
If I could daven every day, do my kids get credit too?
It says
think
Bram
so.
Zaka Abba. It says if a son
the other way around.
gives a schus to the father,
Not the other way
father
around.
to a child. Yeah, tell your son to daven.
What?
Tell your son to daven once a week. See if that works.
It's not my son, it's my grandson.
I'm sure you should tell him.
Yeah,
Tell him what you know. You say,
yeah.
you want to live long?
Huh?
You give him the bracha like you gave this morning. You want to live another 20 years more than you?
Yeah, that's what I always say. 20 years more than me. That would be 107. Maybe I should say 30 years.
Yeah, say 30 years.
33
Okay,
years.
30 years.
33 hit the 100.
30 years would be what?
Yeah, so-
117.
120.
He gives me a blessing, the Rabbi Hirsch, all the time when I come in
What
here.
does he say?
I don't know what he says, but he puts his thing on me and he says something's good.
Excuse me, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Can I take a publicity shot for the Colwell?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it to Rabbi Bresler. Can we move down?
Yeah.
Everybody, just do the natural thing. I'll take a couple of pictures here. And then I gotta go inside for the long
Okay, now. So that was that Allah. So everyone agrees with this notion that there's a mitzvah.
So let me just clarify
Yeah.
that.
Okay, Jake.
So if you have 2 shuls, one you're the 10th guy, a nice kosher shul.
Right.
The other one is 30 guys that are not so hot. All of them are not so hot. All 30 go to the shul of 10.
Commercial 10. But it's a tough call because
only be 9.
Well, so 11
yeah,
guys.
11. But he's also concept Roivam Hadas Melech. He should go to where there's more people also. But still, it seems like that this overrides.
If you know for sure, they're not so
It
kosher.
seems like this overrides it. This concept. That was another question, really. Can a person, let's say let's say he eats pig meat. He eats ham, or what? He doesn't follow.
I have another question on that.
Can he be part of a minyan?
I think so.
We weren't talking if they could be part of the minyan. We just were saying.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, well, that's proof.
From the Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim says it's worse to speak Lashon Hara than it is to eat non-kosher, than eat treif.
Right.
And a lot of good guys are speaking Lashon Hara.
I don't take that lashon. I don't take that lashon hara. I don't believe so.
That's what I hear. Chafetz Chaim said it.
It's lashon hara. People don't say lashon hara.
Right? So
My grandfather.
that's my answer.
My grandfather was the one that he made the calendar. Peter's a calendar. What to learn Chafetz Chaim.
Oh.
My grandfather was the one that made it.
Wow.
But he started in his yeshiva. He started with a few bachrim. He started like about 40, 50 years ago. He started it. It's small.
Wow.
All good things start off small.
Of course.
So the question is, what's the call of Menalpin going to do to start off small? What are we going to do something good? And in a couple of years down the road, we make something
Your
big.
grandchildren are going to start coming here.
What are we going to do? Arnie, what are we going to do?
A bigger building.
Bigger building. Let's see, sometimes the American mentality is to make buildings. What Hashem really loves is we should make ourselves better. That's the message,
So what's the answer?
I don't know.
With the
Oh, so there is it seems to be that the minig is that
counts.
that they do count. Why? Because how do we know how do we know a minyan is 10 people? So it says by the Meraglim. By the Meraglim, it says an Eidah. An Eidah is called a quorum, right? It's an Eidah, and over there we know the Eidah. It says the Eidah Hara. There was 10 Meraglim. So that's how we know a minyan. That's how we know a minyan from the Meraglim. That's when we know the issue of a minyan. Now the Meraglim weren't the greatest
What about the
tzaddikim
kasher
around.
minyan?
They weren't the greatest tzaddikim around. So it seems like that even though someone's not so kosher, it can still be part of a minyan.
What's that if you're not so kosher?
Not so kosher. It seems like it can also be part of a minyan.
Well, wait a minute. The minion isn't that mean that you got to be born Jewish?
Got to be born Jewish, but let's say.
But
someone-
if you're not very religious or kosher,
we're saying that the Meraglim, they weren't so kosher either, and it seems like they were.
They weren't davening.
Yes, he's saying
I
that
can argue.
it's not 100% proof, but they use this as a reason to say that it could be part of a minyan, even someone not so kosher.
so what's the answer? Could they be part of a minyan?
Yes,
If they're Jewish,
yes,
Especially if you need them for
if
part
you
of
need
the
them for
minyan.
a minyan, you definitely could use them. You don't have an option, so you gotta.
What if some of
Yeah.
the guys aren't even davening? They have their sitter, they have everything, but they're not davening. Could it be a problem?
Could be a problem, yeah.
Well, you could have up to 4 people who've already davened.
Right.
Being part of a minyan.
That's
Right.
true also. But then
I
the
couldn't
question.
comment.
So I'm
the
saying,
question
what
is
if
that called davening with a minyan, or just you could say the prayer, but not technically
Right.
davening with a minyan? It's a question. Machlekes,
Right.
We love to disagree, so there's 2 ways to look at it.
if you're right? If that's your only option and that's what you can do, it's better to
Right.
do that. Try to do that than to daven by yourself, I guess.
Now there's another question. We said you should daven. You should daven with a minyan. If you're at home, you should daven when the minyan davens. So let's say it was an old minyan. They do a mincha ma'ariv. So you don't daven. Most people daven 3 davenings a day. They daven shachris, they daven mincha, and then they daven ma'ariv, right? So you daven 3 tefillos a day. Some places, including Menalpin, they'll only daven 2 times a day. There's one tefillah called shachris, and the second davening is called mincha ma'ariv. It's it's one thing, mincha ma'ariv, right?
The short Devar Torah in between.
And with the Torah in between. So
Or not.
what's the reason for it? Really, you're davening early. It's still not so dark outside because it's hard to
go home at night.
because it's hard for people to get out.
Right.
So therefore we daven early. That's the old minhag, and that's what they do. They do in Union Hill. They do in a lot of places.
Right.
So, but if you're at home,
Then you shouldn't do that.
then you should daven when it's really dark, when it's really night. You shouldn't daven when they're davening.
You should daven
Even though
mincha earlier and daven ma'ariv
Daven
later.
mincha with them, daven mincha with them, because that's the right time. But when it comes to ma'ariv, you gotta wait. You gotta wait till it's really night, like whatever. It's a 45 minutes.
You're not saying to leave the minyan. You're saying
No,
if you're home
if
already.
you're at home, so you should daven. So you shouldn't daven the same time as davening ma'ariv. They're allowed because it's hard for them to come back, but it's not really the correct time. So you should daven at home when it's really night.
can you say prayers anytime you want?
Yeah.
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 The Shema
What
too?
kind of
Supposed to make
prayer?
100 brachas a day.
Huh?
Supposed to make 100 brachas a day.
Can you say the Shema anytime you want?
Shema, you can say anytime you want. That's psukim, you could say it. But actual prayers,
Yeah, you
Tec-
wouldn't do the shacharis prayers
You wouldn't
at
do the
night,
shacharis prayers,
and vice
yeah.
versa. You wouldn't do the ma'ariv prayers.
What?
You wouldn't do the shacharis prayers, the
Yeah.
morning prayers at night. But a specific prayer,
Like if I get up at night and I feel like saying something, can I say something?
like what, from the siddur or on your own?
Huh?
On your own or from the
On
siddur?
my own.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have that married before Chanukah's Todah.
Well, I want to know what to do first.
Because I always do it on my own.
Todah Kodim.
I thank for getting up, and then somehow I end up in the Shema.
Very good.
Todah has a gdima, no?
So you want to know about lighting candles? What goes first, lighting candles or davening ma'ariv? It's an old question. I don't want to offend anyone because have to do this way and have to do that way. So what do they do with the Menal? But I'm sure they daven ma'ariv first. Right? They do the mincha ma'ariv, and then you go home and light the candles. Right? That's what they do.
All depends.
What?
If it's Friday.
If it's what?
All depends on how the times work out on Friday.
Can you
What time of
ask
year.
Hashem for something else that my grandson gets into a school?
Yeah.
That's okay?
It's okay. Not only that, you could daven for someone that a person has free will. So you could daven for someone that he should do a mitzvah, that he should make the right choice. You could daven for him.
No, I
Seems
mean
like-
that he gets accepted.
I understand. Yeah, for that you definitely could
I'm
daven.
allowed to do that?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
But definitely
good.
you could also daven. I'm saying you could even daven that someone should do a mitzvah, not do an avera. You could daven.
Okay.
Even though technically you have free choice, you could daven for that. Hashem. That's like, even though Hashem may take away the free choice of him, so to speak, but you let it daven for that.
Take a chair right behind you.
That's not a simple thing, but you could do that.
That's good. I'm glad you could do that.
Moshe down for Yeshua, it says.
What did he say?
It says that Moshe down for Yeshua.
Moshe, right, he says Moshe down for Yeshua. That you see, you could pray for someone else's ruchnius. Okay, now I think should we go a little further? We'll go a little further.
How long is Zman of Chanukah is the past this Zman? Do you have to light before Ma'ariv?
Right, so we want to know if you should daven Ma'ariv first, or you should light the Chanukah candles first. So it's a machlek. So it's different opinions.
No, but if you daven Ma'ariv first, you might miss the Zman of Chorag and Shuk.
When we light candles today, it's really for the inside. We don't really have a time. Time is not so important. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. We really light inside the house. Our main candles is for the people living in the house. We put by the window, just people should see outside, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is for the people in the house. Now the people in the house, they're up at night, so there's no real time that you really have to. It's better to light in the correct time, but it's not something that is vital. That's you're gonna miss out. So that's why some people actually daven Ma'ariv first, like you're saying, because it's more common to daven Ma'ariv every night, and Chanukah is only 8 days, so therefore there's a concept Tadav Sheni Tadav Kaidim. You do what you commonly do first, and others say no.
When you have a family, Marav in Lakewood or Rabbi I, it's like 10:15 at night. So when you have a family,
right,
the kids go to sleep. You're not going to light candles after you daven Marav.
Right.
Most people most people light the candles before they go to Marav. Definitely.
In Lakewood, but I think in the broader world, I think people daven Ma'ariv first.
Kids are not staying up after 10:15.
No, that's correct. But I'm saying in the broader world, where there's the Mincha Ma'ariv, like I said, they daven Mincha Ma'ariv, then they daven Ma'ariv first.
Daven Mincha Ma'ariv, so right after Mincha Ma'ariv we go home and light candles, but we'll make a Ma'ariv at 5 o'clock, all right? Versus 10:15, they make Ma'ariv in Lakewood, so depending upon your situation. Because obviously candles, Hanukkah is a celebration for the family, to everybody participate. Matter of fact, the kids, I think everyone over Bar Mitzvah age, boy and girl, I think they like candles over there.
Most girls don't like.
Well, most boys, most boys Bar Mitzvah.
Even under Bar Mitzvah, why over Bar Mitzvah? Even under Bar Mitzvah, why over Bar Mitzvah?
Even under Bar Mitzvah.
Okay, fine.
Over 3?
Okay, whenever they're capable.
Whenever they
What's
could.
that, a 6 or a 7?
Whenever they're capable.
Where? What?
How long you got that?
Oh, the type of phone it is? 10.
Oh, that's what it's. I think it's almost the same as mine. It's a little bigger.
Yeah. I don't have a button.
Okay, one more halacha. K'shaymin ematzibo, when this is Yud, 10th sentence. K'shaymin ematzibo, when you with the tzibur, asal l'haktim tefillas tefillas tzibur, you can't daven before them. If you're in shul and they're davening, you can daven Shemona Esrei, so to speak, before them. You have to wait till they daven.
What's that? If you're
if the shul is about to daven Shemona Esrei, and you want to daven Shemona Esrei, you can't.
You're in that shul.
You're in that shul. And they're davening. You can't daven before them. You have to wait till they start davening. You can. Oh, okay, Rabbi Heisler. Okay.
I'm glad you told me about that.